Good morning, my fellow Canadians. Well, here we go again. Inspiration and coffee first thing in the morning. The new totalitarianism. I've gone on time and time again about what I see happening to my Canada and how distressing it is to me, and indeed many of us old stock Canadians who still love this country and remember what Canada is and should and could be. And I was going to call this the new Nazism. But whether it's Nazism or totalitarianism, and the two, of course, are almost synonymous, what we're seeing happening, what I'm seeing happening in my Canada, is and has some disturbing parallels to what was done in Nazi Germany. There are some essential differences. The German people were from and used to being ruled by a monarchy and a ruling class. Like Russia, like most European nations, they had a monarchy and a ruling class. So deference to authority was bred into them. Parallels that have been drawn between Canada and Australia. At the end of the day, the Australians were their roots, were English, again, raised with that deference to authority and to a ruling class. Canada, and to a great degree the United States, because of the distance and the differences, were a more independent people. We had more freedom of action, freedom of movement. Yes, we had a ruling class, but not to the same degree that Britain did, or let's say Europeans had. So we grew up as a very different style of people, like the Canada of my youth. The ruling class and even the government took care of things like the roads, took care of things like garbage pickup, levels of government, set national policy, national defense. This was their purview. By and large, Canadians carried on their lives in a free market. You got a job, you lost a job, you got another job, you tried to get in. You could work in a company from your youth to retirement. That was common. That was very common. People would start with a company and spend their whole working career with a company. How often does that happen now? I know the complexion of society has changed. I mean, this is a given. But like I said, what I'm seeing are disturbing parallels between the methodology used by the Nazis and by the communists under Stalinist era regimes to re-engineer society and to dumb down and control and dominate a people. We saw the Weimar Republic fail in Germany. These were people who were not used to the idea of democracy. The idea of democracy had an appeal to some, but these were people, they wanted to be ruled. They wanted to be told what to do. This is the way they lived. The ruling class tells us what to do. And like I said, Canadians and Americans, we were very different. Now you watch the rise of Nazism. Hitler took control of the press. Now, unlike the current liberal government, Hitler was very blatant about it. It wasn't the Ministry of Truth. It was the Ministry of Propaganda. He put Joseph Goebbels in charge of the Ministry of Propaganda, and he called it what it was, a Ministry of Propaganda. So he took control of the press. Just like the liberals. This media bailout. I love that. Media bailout. It's a fucking bribe. Call it what it is. It was a bribe. We bought the media. Now, media pushes our government narrative to the exclusion of fact. And I have firsthand knowledge of seeing the media twist and obfuscate facts where it doesn't suit the government narrative or the current political narrative. We're watching blatant lies being fed to the Canadian people over and over again. We used to be a nation where the rule of law predominated. It was very black and white. Break the law, you will get arrested. This is the law. You broke the law, you are arrested. Now, political considerations hamper the police from doing their jobs, and they become an organ of the government. So What does that say about the rule of law? What does that say about Canadian values? The railway protesters should have been arrested. They were breaking the law. The police were told to stand down for fear of exacerbating the situation. They were breaking the law. Show of force and solidarity on the part of law enforcement and guts on the part of government would have stopped all this. No. Toronto, the Al-Quds rally, which is a giant Muslim anti-Jewish hate fest. What happened? Was there a permit? No. Tory Cave, the police were told to stand down. They arrested a guy for walking his dog too close to the Muslims for inciting violence. Now there's a case, independent news media was at a rally in Vancouver, supposed to be a Black Lives Matter rally, which of course got hijacked by Antifa and socialist agenda. And he got arrested because he was being hassled by Antifa for asking questions and doing adhering to the journalistic process, filming and asking questions and engaging with people. And he got arrested because he was assaulted. What does that say about the rule of law? So the Canada I know is being turned on its ear completely. And the society I love, Canada I loved, is being totally re-engineered. So, back to my point. Like Hitler, the Liberal government has taken control of the press. And now the news again, independent media, the internet, the Liberals tried once before to censor and control and regulate internet content. Got shot down. Now with this COVID-19 crisis, they're trying it again. The last independent, the last free forum for speech, and they want to shut it down because anybody with a brain is highly critical of what the Liberal government is doing. They're asking unpleasant questions. What are you doing with the money you take from us? Where are the infrastructure projects that you said? Where's that money going? Inconvenient questions. We don't like that. The firearms ban is not going to work, and you're adding to it. Don't like that. Bill Blair has been lying, and we've proven him to be a liar. Don't like that. So they don't like this. And now they're trying again to shut down free speech. Second attempt. Because they succeeded in pushing through draconian and ineffective legislation with this assault rifle ban. The marginalization of the elderly. Now, Hitler said the old-style Germans, basically what he said was, you're irrelevant. You have no power base. I have your children. I don't care about you. Sound like a current seating government? Money is being dispersed wildly. What about the seniors, the people who built this country and worked? Nah. You're irrelevant. I'm irrelevant. I have no power base, according to the Liberals. We don't care about you. We have your children. Talking to my 15-year-old nephew. There is hope. There are kids out there who are too well educated from independent education or have solid grounding from their parents, and they're looking at the narrative. And it's a shame to see cynicism in someone that young going, nah, that's a crock of shit. Essentially is what the kids are saying. Teacher says the moon is made of green cheese. I'm going to write the moon is made of green cheese because I want my marks. But we know it's bullshit. This political correctness stuff is bullshit. Gender neutral pronouns. Yeah, you want us to use them, we'll use them, but they're bullshit. As soon as I'm out of school, I'm going to call him, her, they. So, hijacking the educational system, which Nazis did to push the government narrative. And the totalitarian regimes, the communist regimes, to push the government narrative. That's what's happening now in schools. I've gone on about this in the past. I'm seeing these kids, young adults, dumb as a box of rocks, but well educated, but stupid. I was in a situation where I was called a fascist, me of all people. I've been called a Nazi, I've been called a fascist. And the young lady who called me a fascist, I said, okay, how am I fascist? You're a fascist. I said, okay, how am I fascist? Like, define fascism. What are the characteristics of fascism? What makes me a fascist? You're a fascist. You and everybody like you. I said, well, okay, I got that part. Explain to me. Break it down. How am I a fascist? What are the characteristics of fascism? You're the characteristics of fascism. And then when I tried to press it, she turned and walked away. I don't have an answer. I will get in your face. I will spew out a bunch of garbage. But rather than even try to engage in an intellectual level and validate or support my opinion, I'm just going to leave because I can't answer your questions. My brother and I were talking. It's not so much that the government lies. I expect the government to lie, and especially the liberal government lies. Oh my godfathers, the lies they're telling. But I was talking to my brother. When we were lied to by previous governments, they at least tried to give it an air of verisimilitude. Okay, they tried at least to make it a believable lie. The current Liberal government has such contempt for the Canadian people that the lies are absolutely blatant. Blatant, in your face lie, and then they deny it. And I pointed it to my brother. I said, here, perfect example. Here, the cell phone. I say, give me your cell phone. Man, you give me your cell phone. I put it in my pocket and we carry on the conversation. And you look and say, give me back my cell phone. I'm going, what cell phone? The cell phone you just took. Give me back my cell phone. What cell phone? You took my cell phone. No, I didn't. You did. You're right in front of me. I saw you take it. No, I didn't. That's how blatant the lies are. Bill Blair, even now, when all the evidence proves it, we're not going to ban shotguns. But you're banning shotguns. No, we're not. But you're doing it now. No, we're not. You said you weren't going to ban any 22s. We haven't. But you are. You banned the Mossberg 715T. No, we didn't. Yes, you have. No, we didn't. And like you're sitting there saying, could it be more blatant? When it's right there in your face and they're saying, no, we didn't. You wasted all this money. No, we didn't. There was more subtlety even to the Stalinist era totalitarianism. You're watching these BLM protests, theoretically protests. There are voices of reason out there on the internet. But I was watching the one in front of the American consulate here in Toronto. Got hijacked by a bunch of young socialists. I'm listening to this guy speak. He's not uneducated. He really isn't. He speaks well. He's got a good vocabulary. What he said was total, absolute bullshit and garbage, but he presented it well. So obviously this kid's been educated, but he's also been, and I've said it before, it's not an educational system anymore. It's a system of indoctrination, just like Hitler and the Nazi Party, just like Stalin and the Communist Party, and they even have an enforcement arm. The Nazis had the brown shirts. Show up, protest Nazi policies, Nazi regime, expect to get beat up or assaulted by the brown shirts. Well, what's amazing to me is they've got Antifa who are actually doing the government's work in stifling dissent and free speech. And they don't even realize how effective they are working for the government. And what do the police do? Like at the Pegida rally I was at, we were kettled and kept contained for our own protection. We wanted to march to Queen's Park. No, for your own protection, we can't let you because there's too many people here and potential for violence. So we're going to keep you contained. So we're going to deny you your right to speak freely and openly and march to Queen's Park, have a rally for our own good. So deny you your rights for your own good or for the sake of public peace. Ah, the sake of public safety. What did the communists do? How many people did they kill? For the good of the society. How many did the Nazis kill? For the good of the society. And this is what we're being told. This draconian firearms ban. Every totalitarian regime, Communist China, Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, get firearms out of the hands of the citizens, no matter how responsible. Twist the narrative, spin the facts, no matter what it takes, get a compliant press to work with us in this agenda. That firearms in the hands of private citizens is a bad thing. And all the evidence and fact shows that this is a crock of shit. That what the government is doing is not a question of public safety. It's proven. I did a post on this. All the evidence is out there. Factual evidence. Not rhetoric, not government agenda, not a twisted narrative. Anybody who wants to get away from that, take a look at the facts. My brother said it, and it wasn't original to him, but he just repeated something that's absolutely. We're not being governed anymore. We are being ruled. To even think that you have a voice anymore in the government and how Canada is being administered, if you think that, you're an idiot. The Liberals have the bit in their teeth, and they're going to run with it as long as they can. They're bankrupting the country, alienating our traditional allies, destroying Canadian values, Canadian mores, marginalizing the old people, old stock Canadians. The people who contributed all their lives to this country are, again, you have no power base, so what do we care about you? And they don't. Money is being dispersed willy-nilly all over the place internationally. Committees, government functionaries giving themselves raises and patting themselves on the back. While the seniors who worked so hard to build this country and whose money basically built the pension fund, what are they getting in terms of a raise? We're going to give you a cost of living allowance, $33 a month. Ooh, $33 a month. Be still my heart. So, are we being led down the garden path of totalitarianism? Yeah, we are. And until we get people of Canada waking up and elect again a responsible Canadian government whose agenda is the betterment of Canada and Canadians, whose agenda is the safety of Canadians, whose agenda is the value of Canadian values and the perpetuation of Canadian values and the preservation of this wonderful country. Until we get that, we're in big trouble, folks. And anybody who is truly woke, and not as the loony left uses it, but the people who are truly woke, realize that Canada is on the verge of extinction. One more term in office for the Liberal government, and Canada, as it should be, or as it could be, or as it was, will be totally unrecognizable. And I don't know what we're going to be, but it will no longer be Canada. So, if you like what I have to say, pass it on. Comments, pro or contra, are more than welcome. But please, please, help me save this country. I'd like to see that as an aside. And I'd like to know what you think. For the next election, I would like to see the Conservative campaign slogan be, "Let's save Canada." That's what I would like to be the campaign slogan. Will it be? Probably not. But that's what I'd like to see. Anyways, have a good day.